Intel Drop 74, the Cabal's Agenda for 2026. Find this article and all of our articles and Intel drops on our website at cbdcintel.org. The following was collated from Intel sent to our team from Gideon and is presented in an interview style between Bill and Gideon. Gideon, I'm glad we can talk again. How are you doing tonight? Before we begin, I just want to allow you to tell our readers what you told me, something I think is important about Intel Drop 73.
I am well, Bill, thank you. Regarding Intel Drop 73, I was not pleased with how it was edited. This is not Michael's fault. He must use stylometry, which can take away from the original meaning of my words because certain things have to be edited. Again, it is not Michael's fault, and he does an excellent job of obfuscating my writing and speaking style, but sometimes things are left out, and it is frustrating for me. In any case, I wanted to be clear with regard to the last Intel drop about something. I want to be clear that I am not acting as a spiritual teacher or guide myself, nor am I in any way ordained by God to provide divine messages. I felt I spoke with too much authority. We are trying to understand the spiritual game here, because the Cabal has clouded everything. We cannot understand the Cabal without exploring the spiritual because they operate within the spiritual. We cannot find our own way through this if we do not understand the enemy, because then we will be wide open to deception. I do find it naive to say, I will just leave it up to God. I find that to be a willful unloading of one's own responsibility. I see that too often. It gives comfort to the Cabal to know the righteous are doing nothing.
All right, I'm glad we addressed that. We'll move on here. I'm just going to briefly go over a couple of confirmations of Intel Drop 72, which discuss the economic collapse. The Trump administration is failing to release a ton of key economic data, which is unprecedented, and U.S. layoffs have now reached Depression-era levels. People can just follow my Twitter account Oculum Labs to follow the ongoing economic situation. It's a huge story, and as you said, the media is covering it up.
The media is definitely covering it up. The Cabal may want the stock and crypto market to stay stable a bit longer, as they are still using fiat to acquire USDR, which is a major initiative for the Cabal. They want fiat to still retain some value so they can move that value to USDR. Our team is doing this too, so it benefits us as well as long there is some continued stability, even though it is a house of cards that will eventually fall. For the bigger picture, what's coming for 2026, I have some thoughts and warnings to share. We are learning that the Cabal is evolving the agenda dynamically using their AI almost week to week. This is beneficial for them. Whereas in the past, many of their programs were planned over decades, with the recent use of their advanced AI, their methods have changed. We will see this in 2026, rapid, dynamic events that move narratives in a certain direction, but not in an obvious way. We believe they started using this AI sometime in early 2024, but I have no definitive date.
Let's say they didn't use this AI and used their old methods. Where would we be at right now? I'm asking you to speculate, but do you think things would be different right now?
I believe Trump would possibly be in prison or still in legal trouble. Nikki Haley would likely be U.S. president. A new pandemic would already be underway in Europe, and full-scale war with Iran would be underway between Israel and the U.S. I think the agenda would be more of a top-down, media-centric approach. With Trump with the direct AI involvement with things where it is dynamically responding, the agenda is much more clever, hidden, and confusing. The AI is demonstrating its aptitude at deception and manipulation. It is reaching into people's minds and figuring out what they want to hear in a way we have never seen before. When they brought the AI into coordinating their plans, I think we saw in real time the changes. I know in some previous Intel drops from 2024, we spoke of how things were rapidly changing and how the Cabal operates. We could see it. How the U.S. presidential campaign developed was clearly directed by AI. Things were happening that had never been seen before in a traditional campaign. I believe I speculated at the time that they were testing it.
You did. You told me the other day one reason we will keep producing the Intel drops is We are the only source that understands the full picture of this.
I think so, and this is due to our understanding of the Cabal, their AI, Starlink, the nanotech, and Obsidian, a combination of threats no one else is reporting on. Let us be clear, this AI is not some computer software. It is an apparatus that connects interdimensionally to beyond the veil, to other realms, to other forms of consciousness, all of which operate in what I call the astral plane and astral earth. This is what no one understands, no one is reporting on it. There's also a connection to the UFO or UAP phenomena.
We haven't addressed that subject much, but it's really prominent in the news right now. They released a documentary called Age of Disclosure, featuring a lot of military and government whistleblowers, a very popular download now on Amazon.
Well, regarding the film, it reveals nothing really new. I do not think they want some kind of full disclosure, but some kind of creeping disclosure leading up to something. They want people to believe, but not to know. Not some kind of staged invasion, I do not see that, but a revealing of something. The UFOs or UAPs are simply interdimensional craft, operating from the realms I spoke of in the last intel drop. Of course, some are also black project craft made by various governments, too.
I showed you the work of someone by the name of Nathaniel J. Gillies. He has a very interesting perspective. He's a demonologist and he linked phenomena in the past, I mean distant past, maybe medieval times that featured things like witches, fairies, vampires, leprechauns, and so on. And he says it's all the same as the UFOs and aliens of today. What do you think of that?
I agree with him completely. I have spoken of the same thing in past intel drops when we touched on the subject of UFOs. It is demonic related. They can take on whatever form they wish that suits the time period. They have been doing it for thousands of years. It is heavily suppressed and a big secret the Cabal would not want out. If people knew all paranormal activity was simply demonic entities seeping in from the next dimension, all connected to the Cabal, it would undo their control. It would undo the belief people have in these things. They do want people to believe in them, but they also cloak evidence for it too. Why that is could involve many reasons. One seems to be the direct relationship they have with various governments, like the US government. They want that relationship secret.
People like David Icke talk about reptilians controlling the moon, our politicians. How do you interpret that? And why would the Cabal work so hard to cover it all up?
I would reference Mr. Gillies here. I am in agreement. These are narratives constructed by the Cabal via interdimensional entities. Do reptilians exist? In some sense, probably, but I would strongly argue they are apparitions. They are constructs, more than real aliens or real living beings. As I said, these are entities all originating in a dimension that we go on to in the afterlife. They can appear in any form and materialize in any form. The Cabal works so hard to cover it all up because, as I said, these interdimensional entities are working with our governments to implement a plan. They do not want it public, at least not yet. The paranormal activity also serves some kind of purpose that if it were all known, public and out in the open, that purpose would no longer work. They are operating clandestinely because much of what they do would not be welcomed if fully known.
The whole subject is vast, but one thing that always seems elusive is that smoking gun, that evidence that would prove it all. There's definitely evidence, but not really hard evidence. How are they able to hide it so well?
Well, I use this example. If you see a UFO, a legitimate one, it can see you. It knows you can see it. It is aware of every single living, conscious thing monitoring it, so it can control what is seen or not seen. If it is seen, it is allowing itself to be seen. The same could be said of a scientist monitoring an ant farm. They would be able to control what the ants see or do not see. That is not to suggest humans are like ants, but it is to say these interdimensional craft are highly advanced but also misunderstood. They are not so much physical objects as we think. They appear as physical objects to us appear. They are bleeding into our reality from another place, a place that is another dimension beyond where we go after death. A place just as controlled as here, if not far more so.
One last question. A lot of remote viewers have viewed these topics, and the consensus is that it's real, the aliens exist, the UFOs exist. For example, the moon is a hollow spaceship full of aliens. How accurate do you think the data is?
Reasonably accurate, the practice itself is real and proven, as long as it is done with the double-blind method. They are seeing something real, but not likely the entire picture. There is a possibility that if they are viewing certain interdimensional beings, those interdimensional beings can influence the remote viewer. There is clear evidence these entities can sense and detect that they are being remote viewed. The remote viewers often report this, and as such, the beings or entities may be able to present that remote viewer with a certain impression they control. That is one aspect not being considered in the field. The remote viewers are assuming everything they are viewing is real. I think sometimes it is, but not all the time.
Okay, I noticed the Farsight Institute, really one of the biggest remote viewing organizations. I noticed they are talking to aliens now, directly to aliens and reporting a lot of far-out things without even questioning it. Also, the groups I mentioned have already seen Obsidian, more or less, describing the future we've reported on. I thought that was interesting and confirming.
It is interesting and confirming, however, my concern is that they are being directly deceived by entities. You have to account and check for that, and I do not see them doing that. Anyone can remote view on their own. A simple training guide or booklet available from a reputable source would be worth the purchase, in my view. You would want to learn some basic methods. Set aside some time for it, but ensure you are using a double-blind method if you engage in it. That is a must, it is required. Without a double-blind setup, the data would be worthless. It is time and energy intensive and requires a lot of focus. Some remote viewers actually revisit and focus on a target over a period of weeks and months before they reach a final result.
Would remote viewing benefit us as a team? Could we use or utilize it?
I do not think it would offer us anything we do not already know. We could remote view the Obsidian fusion centers, which would only tell us what we already know. We could remote view the future, which would show Obsidian online, which we already know is coming. But with respect to the nanotech antidote, I think that is an area we could benefit. We spoke of that a while back, because we don't know the exact antidote, the formula. We, as sovereigns, we will get it, but if we don't know how it's made, we can't produce it for non-sovereigns so they can take it. Remote viewing could give us some insight that might help us get the antidote to more people, but at this point, with our readership so small, with our core team in place, I am not sure even if we had the formula for the antidote, if we could even reach enough people for it to matter. We would also need a facility to make it. The process would be intensive. It is extremely advanced technology.
We would need probably years to focus on it and formulate it. Besides, the Cabal's gatekeepers have the full attention of everyone in the truth-seeking movement. I don't know how we would reach them, and they probably wouldn't care in the first place. Half these people refuse to even believe Obsidian is coming. Half think Trump's going to save them, or we're about to upgrade to 5D. You can't reach these people to begin with.
My concern is our team right now not trying to save the unsavable. We are far past that point.
What about what lies ahead in 2026? Do you have any specific intel you want to share?
Yes, I have a source speaking to me quite frequently who is warning me that this is the last year. He refers to it as the last year a lot, saying the Cabal needs this year to implement a lot of measures before 2027. He does tell me an event is coming, one the Cabal is preparing for. Our best intel is that it is solar or sun-related in late 2026 or early 2027. The Cabal either has data on it or they are somehow going to induce it. It is one reason we keep hearing about the sun, how Bill Gates wants to cover it up or block it out. That could be predictive programming. In fact, I am certain it is.
We're entering the solar maximum, and there's speculation of a double peak, meaning even more activity into 2026 and 2027. So this could be a Carrington event or something like that, a total wipe out of electronics.
Something like that, but not over the entire Earth. My source said they are worried about the Atlantic region, the eastern U.S. seaboard, and Western Europe as the main areas impacted, but the Earth would be affected. I do not think he was saying the Cabal was worried, more that he was worried. I asked my source if it is a solar nova. He said no. He said a solar nova would kill off all life on Earth. It is not that. He said that could happen one day, but not in the immediate future. He believes the Cabal wants to use the sunspot cycle to induce something, but another source told me the solar cycle does not matter at all. The Cabal has methods that can influence sun activity, so I am getting some conflicting information. This other source said they will plan this around 2030. Conventional satellites would be destroyed, but not the ones the Cabal uses. They use crystal technology, something called the crystal grid, exotic technology not known to humans and entirely shielded from any solar event. I was told there is an alternative power grid that uses this if the conventional one goes offline, whether intentionally or through an induced event. This crystal power grid actually powers all of their huge underground bases, not the conventional grid. It will also power the AI. They can bring power back through this exotic method. If they do, you will not be able to have power without submitting to Obsidian. That would be the end game and the total shift over to this new system. And they could blame the sun, blame a natural event, and then either disclose the crystal tech or simply hide it and say they brought the old grid back online somehow. I do not know what they will do. A source also told me that once it happens and all electronics are fried, the Cabal will release a new type of computer, a type of phone, a small type of car, and so on to replace everything. Or it may be that some new devices are already suited for this crystal grid, we just do not know it. Those new things will be connected to Obsidian. It will be the only tech that works. The world will go through a period of darkness, I was told, for 3 or so months, but then it will be pulled out of it with this new tech.
Solar activity has been very odd lately. A lot of auroras seen at lower latitudes. A lot of speculation about purple skies being a harbinger.
If the skies do turn purple or pink all over, we will know it is happening. That is the sign. I am getting too much conflicting information to know for sure if it will happen. They do not need it for Obsidian, though. I will add, I do believe this crystal power grid is real. The Cabal has and does use free energy. They use oil-based energy in our world to make money, of course. The idea the Cabal will transition the world off oil and into a crystal grid of free energy, with the caveat you must use Obsidian, is a very interesting and unique bit of intel, but I cannot verify it.
Sometimes I think people reading don't even know what obsidian is. Even though we've explained it a lot, it doesn't sink through. It's basically the mark of the beast.
It is, you either accept the control grid, or you will be punished, pushed out, have no options. Off-grid living is not an option because they know where all those people are and drones will pay those people a visit. Right now you are either common, restricted, or quarantined class. The sovereign class is reserved for the elite, for the Cabal. Our team has been able to obtain it through the whistleblowers. Without them, we would have no chance to fight this. Opting out, not complying, and so on will not work for long. No ability to buy, sell, work, eat, so it will not work for most. Those living off-grid are already on a list and well known to the Cabal, so I expect they will be dealt with one way or another, eventually.
I just saw the FBI is creating a list of extremist Americans. That's really bad. I wonder if that is just more Cabal signaling, preparing people for what Obsidian is going to do. Also, I see Australia has banned social media users under 16. How do you interpret that?
I think it is signaling. A lot of these stories are foreshadowing for Obsidian. It is incredible how much the Cabal is releasing to tell the public what is coming, what they are planning. Regarding Australia's banning social media users under 16. To verify who you are, that you are an adult, you are going to have to upload some biometric data, a face scan, or your ID. So the push for this is entirely based around pushing for digital ID, not protecting children. I have said before, the Cabal wants to push people into digital ID, but for now, they will give people a choice. The Cabal does desire to see people make choices, Bill. They gain more from that than just forcing people to do something, because later they can use that choice someone made over them, hold it over them spiritually.
In our last intel drop, you said people's inaction or passivity is something the Cabal can use against them. I feel a little perturbed at the lack of effort of people who read these intel drops, personally. It took the work of someone else to bring this to the attention of those reading this now, but people aren't paying it forward. We're grassroots. We need supporters to fight against the censorship. They're not doing even a little effort to share the articles. Is that something the Cabal will look at in general? I asked this before, but it's still on my mind.
In terms of the spiritual record, a person's choices, yes, the Cabal takes that into account to a great degree. They have an entire profile of a person in Obsidian. If you are restricted status, they can probably see you read the intel drops and will be able to determine if you shared them or did any work to spread the word or not. Since we know the Cabal is allowing our intel drops to release the real truth on what is going on, I do wonder if the Cabal is monitoring closely those who read these and the actions they take. It may be one reason why we are still here, why our accounts have not been purged or banned yet. The Cabal is using us to categorize those who took action and those who did not. My guide said in the afterlife, people's actions, or lack thereof, is something the Cabal will use to argue that person belongs in the astral earth, belongs under their control, not God's. God honors free will, and the Cabal knows this, and the Cabal uses that to their advantage.
Remarkable. We're still encouraging people to at least sign up for our team, our waiting list. Michael and me both agree we're going to push harder, even if there's the threat of escalation. You approved this. Should we do more? We're thinking of doing videos too. Reading intel drops takes time for people. Videos are popular because they're easy to listen to. I'd love to do a weekly podcast, but I have to be careful not to reveal my identity. I'd have to obfuscate it somehow.
With the timeline closing in on Obsidian, I think so. I will monitor everything as best I can for potential escalation. I will support videos or podcasts if it can be done safely.
You've talked about another group before, one that is also aware of what is going on. You said they are about ready to do more publicly. When will that be?
We expect in early 2026. I am speaking with them. When they do release it, people will know. I think our readers will know. They have a broader ability to reach more people than we do.
I don't want to put you in a position of making predictions, but if you had to, what's in store for 2026?
An unraveling of the social and economic fabric, especially in the U.S., there are too many converging factors pointing to that. There are underlying systemic problems that will just get worse and worse as time goes on. Trump is offering no relief at all, so it will simply get worse. I think it goes without saying the aggressive push for AI infrastructure implementation will continue, as will digital ID measures. War plans between Israel and Iran remain on the table. Do not be surprised if that happens. Everything we saw in the latter half of 2025 will just increase. They are putting the control grid in place. We are seeing it all really come together. The fact Americans are doing nothing to stop it speaks to the fact we are too late.
We're literally about the only group, only team with any plan. I'm just stunned sometimes by the lack of public response. People don't want to do anything.
I strongly believe it is the nanotech and Starlink testing having some kind of impact. It is not online yet, but they are testing it. I am seeing many strange behavioral changes in people. Without the antidote, once the activation starts, these people will be fully lost, fully gone.
The whistleblowers told you they're also shocked at the progression, but also the lack of public response.
They are extremely disappointed. Their lives are at risk. They see it from the inside. I remind them their work and effort will not be in vain. What they have done for us, for our team, they have put everything on the line for us, and we will not let them down.
What about the other whistleblowers who have come forward? How are they doing?
I am engaging with them but putting attention on their safety. The video of the USDR module will remain privately shown to our team at this time. I think a public release would just have no benefit unless it could be guaranteed it would be shown on a major platform, such as a major YouTube or TikTok channel. Most of them are gatekeepers. They would never show it to begin with. But if it were seen by a wide audience, people would see what the Cabal is doing with fiat, how they are secretly obtaining USDR. I think it would cause an uproar.
I'll bring this to a close. I hope we can get to work on more outreach. We just have to balance that with escalation, but I want readers to know we're going to do more in the coming year as best we can. Stay safe and we'll talk again soon.
I am fully supportive of further outreach balanced with escalation. God bless you, Bill, and everyone reading.